would love to introduce our first panel, Tips for Attracting Lifetime Customers. I'm gonna introduce Jade Scipione. Jade, you are a regular in the Founder Made community. Jade, you're a reporter at CNBC. Tell us what you do at CNBC, because I think it's super interesting.
I know, everyone's probably sick of me, right? Because
we love you, Jade. We love it.
Yeah. So no, I do profiles. I mean, obviously I do a lot of entrepreneur stories. I write a CEO column called Behind the Desk, where we talk about the journeys that all these founders and CEOs go on. And I also do a column on athletes. So I do it all, you know? If you're making money, we're writing about it.
If you have the mindset, right? And which is awesome. And I think the mindset of scaling your business through long-standing customers is a huge, huge thing. So with that, I'll have you introduce the rest of the panelists. Take it away.
Yeah, no, I'm actually very excited about this panel because, you know, I think in the beginning, you're just trying to get consumers and customers, but how do you really get the lifers? And I think I'm going to go out to Katie, because Katie, I know you know this more than anyone, because you get a wrong box. If someone gets a wrong box a quarter, you know, they're jumping ship. Am I right? Plus you have the best hair on the panel. So what have you learned? I know you launched FabFitFun in 2013. You've been in this a while. What have you learned about really keeping those lifers happy?
So first of all, thank you so much for being here. This is always fun getting to talk about our membership and appreciate the hair compliment. It is COVID boredom. But I think, you know, for us, we're in a really interesting sort of unique space because members are basically writing us a blank check and trusting us to shop for them. And so that means, you know, we have to take the utmost care to deliver the best value and the best quality season after season. And I think, you know, our winning strategy from the very beginning is really pretty simple. It's just listening to our members. You know, I often joke that they are our fourth co-founder because they're so engaged and they give us so much feedback. But we really do sort of take all of that to heart. Every decision that we make is based on, you know, if it's going to make the member happy. And I think that's really been beneficial to, you know, building the business.
Yeah. And a reminder to everyone who is with us, you have a question. I mean, I'm sure your questions are smarter than mine. So please hit the chat button and feel free to tell me what direction to go in. Aaron, out to you, because I want to first start with your background, because you're from LVMH. I mean, obviously those guys know how to keep the lifers. I mean, even
that's true.
During COVID, there's lines out the door for Louis Vuittons, and I'm like, what's happening in this world? So
exactly.
I'm interested to know what you learned about working there, about attracting lifetime customers, and how you're bringing that over to a smaller brand with Reese Witherspoon, Draper James.
Absolutely. Thank you. And thanks. I'm so happy to be here. But it's a great point. And I was in Houston yesterday, and there were for sure lines outside of the Louis Vuitton store as usual. And they, you know, I think I learned so much at LVMH. I'm still in touch with so many of my colleagues there. It was such a great experience. And they are just the masters of kind of playing the long game. You know, they really never take short-term opportunity over the long-term picture. And I think that's something so important. And, you know, during COVID or even during times where it might be tough, business may be tough, I think it's easy to go for some of the quick wins. But I think that you have to keep true to what the brand is all about. And we've really tried to do that at Draper. And I think a perfect example is just our product strategy during COVID, you know, definitely shifted. We tried to meet her where she was. We were certainly selling more pajamas, more loungewear for the home, but it still has to be absolutely true to our brand DNA. And so that's how I try to approach everything. And yeah, Draper is doing great.
Yeah. So Nicole, out to you. You know, tell us a little bit about the platform and how you help companies keep customers happy, and what trends you're seeing.
Yeah, absolutely. So So for those of you that don't know, Gorgeous is a customer service help desk. So we aggregate all your support in one place. So email, chat, Facebook, phone, Instagram. We just launched Instagram DMs, so you can manage them through our software. We don't actually do your support for you. But what we've seen is just a huge shift in where customer service is presented, right? So it's not just email and phone. And again, this is totally dependent on who your customers are, right? My mom is a phone caller, till the end, because she doesn't want to deal with the technology, right? But someone like myself likes to DM or I like to SMS, and those are new channels that we've seen pop up a lot, that a lot of brands have to shift and be active on, just given that times have changed. This last year we were all in a pandemic, everyone was at home, there was no way to really communicate with your customers in person. So you had to become creative and figure out new ways to actually communicate with them and meet your customers where they are. I see a few people in the chat, they're already Gorgeous customers, which is awesome. But that's exactly like the trend that we saw, this last year of brands moving online. And then with that, we also saw a huge increase in channels and delivering an omni-channel experience, which pretty much just means, being available on more than one channel to communicate, to sell, to deliver an overall experience where your customers can find you in different places.
Yeah, Nicole, expand on that a little bit. So you're saying be available for DMs on all the social media platforms, even the old school, having a place for someone to call. Because, sometimes I personally still like to do that. I know my mom does, the older generation. When you're saying being all everywhere, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, so we talk about this idea of omnichannel experience. I think most people either sell on Shopify. Obviously we saw a huge increase on Shopify. There's WooCommerce, BigCommerce, Magento. Those are 4 different e-commerce platforms that you actually build your site off of. But then with that, there's also Amazon, right? Do you want to be available on Amazon to sell your product? That also depends on, your brand. Is it something you want to associate with selling on Amazon? We see there's an availability that you're not just selling on your e-commerce platform like before I mentioned, but also you're also selling on Amazon or on Instagram. When you're sending those ads, you're actually conversing with your customer, being like, hey, what size does this come in? What's your return policy? So that omni-channel experience means you're communicating with your customer on all aspects and all parts of the customer experience, and it's not just singly through email. There's multiple touch points. So that's what we mean by omni-channel experience.
Yeah. Katie, I met you before COVID for lunch. I don't know if you remember, but you told me last time, content. I mean, essentially you, with every box, you're providing a lot of content, a lot of information, and you're a community. Talk to me about how that's helped your brand and what trends you're seeing in that.
For sure. I think the unique thing about FabFitFun that not everybody knows is that we actually started as a content brand. We were a website and a newsletter, writing about tips and tricks to living your best life. My background actually is in content. I was a writer for about 10 years before starting FabFitFun with my 2 co-founders. And I think that's been also another piece that's really integral to our success, being able to, not just send people stuff in a box, but really tell the stories of the brands, the wonderful people behind the brands, the ingredients, where they come from, really explaining why these are the products that they have to have, I think has been a huge influence on how they receive the box, how they receive the products, why they feel so excited to get them. And we do so much storytelling, whether it is, founder chats on Instagram. We have a glossy magazine that goes in the box. We have a digital magazine that goes into even more detail. And of course, we have our community. And so we call our community, basically, it's a social media platform only for members behind a paywall. And it's just another way to connect and engage with our community. And it's really fun because obviously they're in there, they're talking about the products they receive, the brands that they like, the products that they want to receive, but we also have clubs in there as a way to engage them on an even deeper level, whether it's a mom's club or a fitness club. And it's really interesting because it very much is an interplay between content and commerce, because when we see, they are asking for certain brands, certain products, that for sure influences our wonderful merchandising team to go out and find those products and bring them into the fold. And, it's really amazing because within the community, they obviously are talking to each other, but they also, they talk to me, they tag me directly. I spend hours and hours in there every single day. And it's this amazing real-time feedback loop. And obviously it's great when they're happy, but they also tell us when they're not happy. And that's good too, because even if it's stuff that's been a challenge or a disappointment, it's a way for us to learn and grow and, not make that mistake again or improve for that next box. And so I do think that engagement is a big differentiator. And it's just nice to also be that relatable to our members, right? They feel like they're a part of the business. They feel like, they can put their input into the system and they really see it come to fruition as we make changes within our membership. And I think a great example of that is, just recently in summer, we launched a fully customizable box, which means that annual members can actually now choose every single product in their box. And that was a direct result, seeing members ask for exactly that within our community.
Yeah, actually, Gabriella has a question. She's interested in she wants to discuss how to personalize customer experiences at, every digital touch point. Talk to me, any thoughts on that from the group?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think I can touch on that because customer experience is something we do every single day. I think one thing that we saw is a huge win is I talked a lot about, responding to your ad comments, organic comments on Facebook and Instagram to really build that brand and that brand voice behind your community. So that's definitely something that we recommend is responding to those comments to be omni-channel, but also chat is like probably our other fastest growing channel. What we see with chat is the conversion rate is way higher when you actually respond within 10 minutes. I think there's a 28% conversion when you respond within 10 minutes is what we found through data. And that's for entirely new customers or customers that haven't purchased within 30 days. So, when you're offering that personalization, that doesn't mean you have to hire a huge team to respond to everything, but you can use automation, for example, to be available to respond to those types of inquiries, to respond to those repetitive inquiries. And that's kind of what we talk about is how to be digital on all different touch points and not spread yourself so thin, but actually use technology to enable you to respond to all these different inquiries across all these different channels so that you can still remain personalized and never compromise on personalization when you're using automation or quick ways and quick tools.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been talking with a lot of other, direct to consumer retailers, but also people who do have stores. And now that stores are back open, and even during the pandemic, we have a small network. Our flagship is in Nashville. And just speaking about how people want that personal touch, people love content out of our Nashville store. It really embodies our brand. And they'll reach out to people in the store. We feature our store team a lot on social media. And we even ran through COVID some programs where people could SMS to the store for concierge packages, and we could help them with holiday gifting or things like that. So again, just trying to make it personal at every step. I agree with Nicole and Katie, super important.
That's right. We do that as well. So much of our team is featured on our social because look, we love models, we love celebrities, we love all of the famous Instagrammers and YouTubers, and we do a lot of influencer marketing, don't get me wrong. But I think there's also something really relatable when you see a woman who looks like you, who feels like you. It's why we actually cast such a wide net also with our influencer strategy. So it's not just the sort of beauty gurus and fashionistas, but it's the momtrepreneurs, the Olympic athletes, the working moms. These are really important people to our community. I will say on the personal touch, I think, we have a really amazing CS team who does go above and beyond. And because we do have this really personal relationship with members in our community, they do have, what I think is a really great program, that they call Surprise and Delight, where when we see stories of our members who might be going through a hard time, who are getting married, who've had a baby, they do little things like send them flowers or send them a gift card. And it's so funny. It makes a huge difference. And it can feel really small because it's just going out to one single person. But then when they share that experience in the community on social, it has such a bigger effect that I think, really engages our entire community.
Yeah. Speaking of celebrities, Erin, I know Reese is the face of the brand and you're attracting the lifers who love Reese, but how do you grow beyond that? What have you learned?
So I think it's a great point, and I can, speak to even the great partnership that we have with FabFitFun, but just diversifying beyond that, because obviously, yes, Reese's audience loves us. The brand was founded, the name is her grandparents' names. It's inherent in our DNA, but finding other ways to access new customers, introduce new customers to our brand is incredibly important. We have to go beyond just Facebook marketing, which of course we do. And I think everybody does, probably in this seminar today. But FabFitFun has been a great partner to us and a really interesting way to get our product into a much wider audience's hands. And so we partnered with them a couple of times. We did a product with them in the most recent box. It was a sleep dress in this print. In fact, Katie reminded me. And, that puts Draper into hundreds of thousands of people's boxes. And they're also getting our story because, as Katie said, the story is so important. And so we're working with that team to get our story out there to those members. Now they know Draper, they have a piece of it, they're coming back to us. And so they've been wonderful partners from a marketing perspective, getting our brand out there. And so we also have done partnership with Land's End. So we do swim with them. We have a wonderful swim collection we've done for a couple of years. Our customers are looking for that. The search term starts popping up, a few months before the collection arrives, swim. So, and again, I think it's great for them. And I think it's great for us. So finding those other partners who you're aligned with, who you can both, share and push out your story to the others' audiences. That's great. And it just grows the base.
Yeah. So the question is, what cross-brand partnerships get the most ROI? Anybody have thoughts on that?
I mean, for us, it's very interesting. I mean, the bigger, the better in a certain sense. So someone like FabFitFun with that huge audience, it's an automatic win for, a brand like Draper. But we've also had great success with smaller partnerships. So we did a custom bike with a little bike company out of LA this year called Linus Bikes. And we did a giveaway and we had a huge response. I mean, it was a big giveaway. It was a bike and it was stuffed full of Draper products. And so it was really, really attractive, I think. And we had a great response to it. We gained a lot of followers, a lot of emails from that initiative. So I think yes, big works, but also small brands can work as well, or smaller influencers. Katie, I'm sure you see the same thing. It doesn't have to be the person with the biggest following necessarily.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think it's all about brand alignment. So if you feel that sort of synergy and connection, it's just going to resonate with your audience. People really do understand authenticity and they're hungry for it and they crave it. And that's why, for us, the sort of storytelling piece has always been important because we wanted not just to find products in a box, we wanted to find really innovation, people who are inspiring to us, and then being able to bring that to life to our members has been core to the business, from the beginning. And I think that's been, we've tried to be really transparent about that. And I agree with that. Micro influencers honestly tend to work for us really well. It's all about engagement rather than the number of followers they have, because it's like, people don't necessarily look to a celebrity for advice. They're really looking to their friends. And so it's people that they are sort of constantly engaging with, that they connect with, and they have that trust. And that's why, these sort of smaller influencers tend to be so powerful.
Yeah. How has COVID changed the game? Yeah, I mean, especially Erin, you've got stores.
Where do I start?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a crazy ride. I think, and something that I've talked on other panels with friends in the market with is I think it probably accelerated things that we knew we should be doing even faster. So I think you had to look really hard at what products you had out there. You had to make hard decisions. You had to cut expense where you could. You know, we had stores that were closed for months. But I think we've come out of it leaner and even more nimble. And I think a lot of people in the industry are saying the same things, and you have to evolve so quickly this day and age, and things have changed rapidly, and even where people want to buy and how they want to interact with you, Nicole, as you've been saying, it's just changing so fast. And so we just really took a close look at everything we were doing, from customer service, how we were doing it. Could we engage the store teams to interact on the customer service side? Could we leverage them in a different way? What does our product mix look like, as I talked about? So, I mean, it really changed everything, but I feel we're coming out of it stronger than ever, personally, for Draper.
Yeah. There's some questions in here about marketing channels. I mean, obviously, a lot of people who are listening they're just starting to build their brand. So is there any thoughts on, taking you back to you in the beginning, what kind of tips would you give people that you wish you knew when you were first starting about attracting customers? Katie, any thoughts?
I mean, I think at the most basic level, I think not being afraid to take risks and to fail is incredibly important, because the truth of it is, when we started, we made a lot of mistakes. I came from a background in content. I had no experience in merchandising or operations or subscriptions in any way or form. And I think the weird thing is, there was something a little bit beneficial that, I wasn't necessarily limited by the way things that were supposed to be done, only because I didn't know how. So we were really willing to test and try quite a bit and invest in what worked, and really just able to throw away what didn't, because we weren't sort of attached to anything at that point. And I think that was really important, because we didn't know it was going to work. We had to keep testing and trying, innovating, and listening then to our members to continue to grow the business. And I think, it continues to be, true today. I think when you talk about COVID, we saw a weird acceleration in our business, because obviously, you couldn't go into a store, and people were shopping, online more than ever. And I think, now we've sort of come to the other end, and we've seen a little bit of a slowdown. And so, we have to evolve again. And so just this morning, we actually announced that we're starting to do social shopping. So if you think about a world where people used to go to a mall with their friends, and you would show off the dress that you loved, and you would give that feedback, we're not quite doing that as much. So now members of FabFitFun can actually, ask their friends to, shop with them for different sales, and they can show each other their carts and, shop together in this, sort of community way that we used to do in a mall. But I think it's that sort of, the takeaway for me is it's never going to be one thing. What you start out as is probably not going to be exactly how you end. And I think it's just that willingness to change that, keeps you growing.
Yeah.
Totally agree. Yeah. And I think,
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine.
You go first, Nicole.
Okay. I was just going to say, I think the best marketing that we always say is your customer experience. I think word of mouth marketing, you guys hit on earlier, is really key. Is when someone has an amazing experience, they're willing to share it with their friends, and that creates this really organic effect that others actually want to shop with you. I always like to bring in the example of Zappos for back in the day. They used to, if you were, writing in about a certain shoe and they didn't have it, what they would actually do is they would direct you to a website that did. And that just created a really beautiful customer experience. And so when we think about marketing, I think it goes beyond just your traditional channels. I think it's actually also from within, and actually using your current customers to market to your other customers. I know Katie mentioned, they're micro influencers, but really that goes a really long way. Is getting that person that's obsessed with their skincare routine to talk about it and telling their friends, right? Like I know when I'm at a party, oh my God, that baby's so cute. When I'm at a party and someone can talk about their shampoo or their skincare routine for, that's like the person that you actually want to market to, and that you want to be like, oh, they're a great customer. How can I optimize that? Either, delivering them an even better VIP experience or, going a little bit further with them.
Love it.
Yeah. And just building on what Katie and Nicole said, I think testing is so important. And I think in starting out in the early days, or even I came into Draper after the founding of it. So, I've been here for a year. And so picking up from where what the prior team had done, not being afraid to test. And then also not everything that works for one brand is going to work for another brand. So just because something's working for your friend at another company, don't be afraid to try different things. Not everyone, Facebook marketing, for instance, is not going to work the same for everyone. You have to be innovative, try podcasts, try different ways of attracting customers and different types of partnerships. I think partnerships with other brands in your space, I think back when I first started out, they weren't as common, and maybe people thought, partnering with another kids brand, for instance, if I'm in kids, isn't a great idea. I need to stay unique. Now I think partnerships, when you find other like-minded brands in your space, in a different space, I think those are incredibly important and can be really beneficial. And so seek those out, and they're great business references as well, and people you can share with and learn from.
Yeah. My thought is listen, everyone's not going to be a lifetime consumer. You're going to get those complaints. How do you deal with customer complaints, especially because obviously that, you want to win everyone over. Is there any thoughts you guys have for that as people go through their journey?
Yeah, I think you can always turn a negative experience into a positive one. I think when you have visibility of that customer who's, a current customer, with us, you can actually see that customer as a Shopify customer, for example. And you can be like, oh, I have all their order data in front of me. They wrote on our Instagram, oh, this is like a trash product. Give them a call, turn that around. You have the full power to actually deal with that complaint and use it as constructive feedback to do better, to iterate on your processes and control, the next wave of what you're implementing internally and both, from a product standpoint.
Yeah, I could not agree with Nicole more. That was just, perfectly spot on. I think, for me, it's honestly, it's still hard. Every box that comes out feels like a baby, and it feels like I'm just sort of so personally attached to everything that goes inside of it, that when someone doesn't like something, it feels like pain inside my heart. And I know that's ridiculous, but it's been so long, but it still feels that way every time. But I think, not taking things personally, realizing that it is an opportunity for growth, for improvement, having that direct relationship as much as you can with your, consumer, I think it's incredibly beneficial. And I think it only makes your company better.
I love that. You guys have really, I have to say, I wish I could listen to you guys for hours on this, because I think building the customer trust and loyalty is the key thing. And you guys have done it in such a huge way, in different ways. So wonderful, wonderful conversation. Katie, I also love that your daughter popped in. I have a 7-month-old that popped in. I had her dancing at our last show. So I love the human aspect that happens at our virtual shows. And I think that's also something that makes you a great brand builder, is because you're just yourself, and people really feel that authenticity, and you can feel that from this whole panel. So thank you guys so, so much. We're so grateful. We can't wait to see you in person and see you at our virtual shows, throughout the year. So thank you. Appreciate it.